Hey, we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Cosa Nostra. Individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing.
I'm told this is a very big deal. So yesterday, federal prosecutors revealed a massive illegal gambling and NBA match fixing scheme. And as you just heard, they charged over 30 people in the scheme. That included big names like Chauncey Billups, who is currently the head coach for the Portland Trail Blazers and formerly played in the NBA. So now keep in mind that everyone involved is innocent until proven guilty. So that aside, let's dive into the charges. According to the federal prosecutors, this case can be split up into two schemes. So let's hear some more about the first one.
Between December 2022 and March 2024, these defendants perpetrated a scheme to defraud by betting on inside, non-public information about NBA athletes and teams. The non-public information included when specific players would be sitting out future games, or when they would pull themselves out early for purported injuries or illnesses. They also misused information obtained through long-standing friendships that they had with NBA players and coaches. And in at least one instance, they got their information by threatening a current player, Porter, because of his pre-existing gambling debts. Defendants used this non-public information to place hundreds of thousands of dollars in fraudulent bets, mostly in the form of prop bets on individual player performance.
Okay, so that was the first scheme. So here's what you need to know about the second one.
Beginning as early as 2019, the defendants in this case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. The scheme targeted victims known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam. Once the game was underway, the defendants fleeced the victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. The defendants used a variety of very sophisticated cheating technologies, some of which were provided by other defendants in exchange for a share of the profits from the scheme.
Whoa, okay, so after this news broke, Mediaite's Colby Hall wrote an insightful piece explaining just how intertwined the worlds of sports and gambling have become. So he wrote, when federal prosecutors charged Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups this week, cable news and sports networks delivered their lines with appropriate solemnity. Then they broke for commercial, brought to you by FanDuel, DraftKings, and because irony is dead, ESPN Bet. ESPN doesn't just run betting ads, it is a betting company. ESPN Bet, launched in 2023, is a revenue sharing partnership with Penn Entertainment. Every wager sends a cut to Disney. Fox Sports had Fox Bet, CBS partners with Caesar, NBC Universal inked deals with PointsBet. And this is precisely why the coverage of this story focuses on the symptom and not the larger problem itself. You can't investigate your own paycheck. And so the fastest growing public health crisis in sports is being politely ignored by the only institutions capable of explaining it. When Rozier and Billups were charged, that wasn't just a failure of individual character. It was a system functioning exactly as designed. saturate sports with gambling, make insider information valuable, and invite organized crime into a $120 billion market, and you're going to get corruption. So, oh my God, I didn't know that was going on. I have heard about things like DraftKings and ESPN Bet even. I know that a lot of people are big into fantasy football, but that feels separate. I don't know. But Waz, I'm sure you have a lot more insight on this. So what do you make of all this?
There's a few things that folks need to know first. And I talked about some of this on with Sharon earlier on Dr. Richie's show. But I don't have a problem bringing it up again. I think first thing that people need to understand is traditionally, when there was a sports gambling scandal, it was the mafia, usually some organized crime element, finding their way to get their tentacles into some boxing, college basketball, et cetera, et cetera. Fixing it so that the outcome is predetermined in a way that only they know. And then the general betting public, which is doing so underground in a black market economy, is the one who's being defrauded, right? And so, it's a crime, but it was a little bit harder for the authorities to prosecute these things when they even came to light. Because the people being defrauded oftentimes didn't even know that they had just gotten defrauded. It's way different now, okay? All of these big gambling entities, it's all digital, it's all computerized. They have a bunch of computer programs monitoring all the wages. And so, first let me explain how the wager works for this gambling syndicate to make money against these mega gambling corporations. That's what you need to know now, is that the victims now are the major multi-billion-dollar, very powerful gambling organizations. And so it's important to know that. And so what these guys would do, you're able to make nowadays what they call prop bets. Instead of just the outcome of the game, who wins or loses. In a basketball game, you can bet Terry Rozier whether he's gonna score more than 15 points or less than 15 points, right? The sports book sets a line, or more than 5 rebounds or less than 5 rebounds. You make a bet, and if you pick the over and Terry Rozier scores 20 points that night, your bet cashes. If he scores 12, you lose that bet. What Terry Rozier and Chauncey Porter are being accused of doing is telling people, I'm going to leave the game early, thereby cashing your under bet easily. Instead of going out there and making a mockery of the game and intentionally missing a bunch of shots, you start the game, leave the game with an injury. You say, yo, oh, my knee is hurting. And so therefore you weren't able to score, get those rebounds or whatever. And so that under bet will cash. Here's the problem with that. It sounds great in theory, but when you're a marginal player like Chauncey Porter or Terry Rozier are, on a general sports betting night, these companies know where most of the action is going. It's usually going to outcomes of games, like the Lakers played the Warriors the other day. And it's like, oh, obviously, those are LeBron James, Steph Curry, Lakers, Warriors. These are public teams. There's gonna be a lot of action involved with those games. People are gonna bet on Steph Curry scoring this many points, making this many 3-pointers, dishing out this many assists. People are gonna bet on LeBron James. There's gonna be a lot of action around these public, popular figures and teams. Well, if hundreds of thousands of dollars in one night are being bet on a freaking Terry Rozier prop, that's not even a red flag. It's a neon flag. Like Joe Sixpack doesn't spend his time thinking about marginal NBA players. So on a general night, there's a very small amount of money being wagered on a Terry Rozier prop bet. So the gambling companies are like, hold up, what? And we lost? Best believe if they won, there'd be no investigation. And we lost, meaning we've been bilked of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Immediate investigation. Authorities get on the line, look into this. Lo and behold, people in and around Terry Rozier's orbit, Jonte Porter's orbit, they involved in gambling, blah, blah, blah. So like the big corporations got defrauded. They sicked the man on them. So that's what's happening with Terry Rozier, Jonte Porter, who was kind of mentioned. And also, another thing that happened, Damon Jones, who was an assistant coach with the Lakers, he had information that LeBron wasn't gonna play in a game. He immediately texts one of his gambling guys to be like, yo, LeBron's not playing tonight. Go ahead and put in a big bet that the Lakers are going to lose. And so before the Lakers report, basically every team has to declare their injury list before every game. But it gets reported through the media. So before that information got disseminated, Damon Jones already texted his gambling buddies, hey, go play. He literally said, go put a big bet on Milwaukee. LeBron's not playing today. So that's one element of it, which I think honestly is like, it's bad for the league's image and it's it's pretty ugly. And I think players need to understand you're not gonna get away with this. Like, I'm sorry, like they're monitoring these bets. They understand the general flow of money going in and going out. And when they're giving out a lot in a way that doesn't comport with what they usually see, it's gonna be investigated and you're gonna get freaking caught. So that's that. So the other part of it with Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones apparently was involved in this is these guys are luring people to poker games. People who, let's face it, they're just star effers, groupies. In order to let them think that the poker match was on the up and up, they're like, look, Chauncey Billups, NBA champion, 5-time All-Star, Hall of Famer, NBA head coach. He's gonna be at this poker game. Meanwhile, they've got X-ray machines. They've got freaking contact lenses and glasses that could see like invisible markings on cards. They've got like cameras hidden to see other players' hands. They've got like a communication signal to hit people in the game so that they could bilk people of this, like basically by knowing what the cards are. And what the feds are saying, are implying is that Chauncey Billups was in on it with the mob figures who set up these illegal games, which to me, that is the worst of all of these crimes. That is just straight up grind, like it's just straight up fraud. It's just theft, in my opinion.
Oh my God, I had no idea that any of this was going on. This is crazy. I was telling you during the break that the Rockets tonight are playing the Pistons, and like my most recent memory of the Pistons, I was like, oh, they like to fight people, and like that was from the 90s. So that's how caught up I am on things. But apparently I'm more current than I realized because apparently the Pistons are fighting people again.
Again, yes.
Yeah, that's fun for everyone else, I'm sure. Well, I don't really have anything to add to that because I think you covered it. And
I think the last thing that I think needs to be added.
Yes.
And a buddy of mine, normie buddies of mine, are just like, I don't remember knowing who the FBI director is. That's a new thing for me.
Yes.
That like the FBI director is this public person. So I need people to keep in mind, this is an FBI that is addicted to publicity. And just by the way they announced it, they announced the most famous people involved with the case and La Cosa Nostra. They didn't name the actual individuals rigging the poker games. They just said La Cosa Nostra because you've all seen The Godfather. You've all seen Goodfellas. You've all watched The Sopranos, right? And so to add that sort of organized crime mafia element, they know is gonna be sensationalizing the outcomes. I will just remind people, during the Diddy trial, or excuse me, when they arrested Diddy and started the public investigation, SWAT teams and guns and this, and they picked up the baby on Leslie, he was drugging people and they took this man to trial. They got him for buying prostitutes and buying them flights. Yeah. So please remember that on the day when the feds make their big public push and get all of this publicity, like they might get to trial and not have the goods on anybody's, particularly the famous people that are around this.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing that I think that has become normalized too. Is that like we know the names of people like Cash Patel, our FBI director.
Who was Obama's FBI director?
I don't know. I don't remember. We know our
George
deputy
Bush.
FBI director. We know the deputy, right? Like it's crazy, and the fact that they're so public facing, it's not good because should not.
I just want our viewers to keep that in mind when they're screaming the names of relatively famous people, and organized crime. Like, okay, I'm waiting for y'all to show me the goods.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.